Welcome to the In Love with PMDD podcast. I am your host, Rose, your PMDD relationship expert. I have personally been suffering with PMDD for over 15 years and spent so much time desperately trying to navigate my intimate relationships, going from breakup to breakup, thinking that everyone else was the problem. I am now married to an amazing PMDD partner thanks to the PMDD-specific relationship tools that I have developed over the years, and now I am here to share them with you. Because I know that there is not much research available to PMDD partners, I am now dedicating my doctorate practice specifically for PMDD relationships. I am a traumatology doctoral candidate, and each week I will be providing PMDD partners with my signature PMDD trauma transformational tools on how to effectively navigate an intimate relationship while having PMDD so that you can avoid the patterns of breaking up with your partner every single month and you can finally have the supportive relationship that we all desire and deserve. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. Now let's get into your weekly dose of PMDD relationship tools. We got this. Today we are going to be talking all about attachment styles and your PMDD relationship. I'm so excited to do this episode because this is something that has come up with my private PMDD clients so much, and it's really caused us to go in depth with what kind of attachment style we have, what kind of attachment style our partner has, and how that impacts our PMDD relationship. And it really does impact what triggers us during PMDD and also what triggers your partner during PMDD. So first, I want to go over the 3 kinds of attachment styles. Then we're going to talk a little bit about my attachment style and my partner's attachment style. And then I'm going to give you a little surprise at the end. So let's get right into it. So when we're talking about relationships, they can seem a little bit mysterious when it comes to the patterns that our partner has when we're in PMDD and when we're out of PMDD, because everyone knows when you're in PMDD, you're one way. But when you're out of PMDD, you're a completely different way, and your partner has to adapt to that. So that means their attachment style may change from when they're in PMDD with you, and I'm calling it, they're not experiencing the symptoms, but they're experiencing your reactions to it. And then when you're out of it, they may switch into a different attachment style, which is the case with my partner. So the attachment style is really built on early years, how you were cared for as a child, how secure you were, what your environment was like. So when I work a lot with my private PMDD clients, we go back into childhood and really understanding what was your attachment style as a child, because that tends to linger on into your intimate relationship. So the 3 main attachment styles are secure attachment style. This means that the person feels confident and they enjoy a healthy, close relationship while being interdependent, meaning they want to be with their partner, but they don't need to be. So there's that healthy balance. And then there's the anxious attachment style, which means that you can be conceived as like being clingy and a little bit possessive because you're wanting to hold on to the relationship, to the person so much. And then there's the avoidant attachment style, which you tend to want to be isolated and you're kind of emotionally distant. So here's the thing. I believe that a lot of us have the basis of a secure attachment style when PMDD is not present, right? We know if we have little quirks about maybe wanting to be around our partner a lot or kind of wanting our own space, but it's never excessive until we get into PMDD. When we get into PMDD, our needs change, and so our attachment styles change. And the good news is that most people have the secure attachment style, but they're not in PMDD, but we need to know how to navigate it when you get into PMDD. So the first step I want you to take when you're trying to figure out what kind of attachment style you have in PMDD is to conduct an inventory. So take a good look at yourself and think about, when you get into PMDD, do you avoid getting close to your partner? Do you worry that you're being left out of social things? Do you feel like they're going out to hang out and they don't want to invite you because now all of a sudden you're feeling a little bit insecure and you're feeling clingy, but you can't stop yourself from being clingy? Like you're feeling like you're needing a lot of attention, but then when you get the attention, it's still not enough to reassure you. So if you're in that place of feeling clingy, but you can't get enough attention, that means that you're probably a anxious attachment style when you're in PMDD. So this episode is all about, not about who you are when you're not in PMDD, but who are you when you're in PMDD and how that's really affecting your partner. So the next thing is, if you're in that secure attachment style when you're in PMDD, that's amazing, because that means that your partner can come and go and you're not going to take it personal. You're not going to, start looking into it. You're not going to start making up stories about what you think they're thinking or what you think they're doing. But that's really not realistic. What I've noticed a lot with my private clients is that you're either in the anxious zone or you're in the avoidant zone, which is like me, where when you get into PMDD, you kind of want to avoid contact with your partner. You kind of want to isolate. You want to deal with PMDD on your own. You feel like you're just on this island by yourself. Your partner doesn't understand. You don't feel like explaining it to them. So you just want to just hide out until PMDD goes away. Then no, this doesn't necessarily mean that you feel negative things about your partner. It just means that you don't want to be around them, right? And I know that that's so hard to hear for the partners, because they want to think that you always want to lean on them and they want to know what it is that they can do for you. But sometimes when you're dealing with this avoidant attachment style, the only thing that they want you to do, your partner wants you to do, is just leave them alone. And that's really, really hard to think about, to really accept. But I know in the past, for me, my biggest complaint for my PMDD partner, and this is how I know I'm an avoidant attachment style. I've also done the work, so I know I'm an avoidant attachment style. But my biggest thing is complaining about my partner being clingy when I get into PMDD. I automatically feel that the communication that my partner gives me is just too much. It's overbearing. He texts too much. He wants to call too much. He wants to check on me too much. All of these things just feel really overwhelming, and it can get to a point where you can have a sense of anxiety when you see a text message from your partner and you get anxious about it. Or if you wake up in the morning and you see all these texts from them, you can start to experience anxiety. I know I did for a very long time. I experienced it was horrible anxiety over seeing all these text messages from my partner, but not really feeling like I wanted to respond to them, because I was in that zone where I just didn't want to be bothered by anyone. And the level of attention that my partner was giving me was very overwhelming. And the reason why is because when I get into that avoidant attachment style, my partner gets into the anxious style. So what that means is that he switches into being really clingy, really overly communicative. He gets really insecure. He asks a lot of questions. And the questions themselves were the things that were triggering me the most, because he would be like, oh, what are you going to do this weekend? And sometimes I didn't know what I was going to do. And I'm a Sagittarius. I'm an Enneagram 7. I'm a free spirit. I'm not very structured as far as creating schedules for the day. My job requires me to be like that. So when I'm in my personal time, I tend to not want to subscribe to a very structured life, because my job is so structured. I just want my off time to be my off time. And so something that my partner regularly does, normally, he does it all the time, but when I'm in PMDD, it's the only time that it really bothers me. So what he does is, especially on a weekend, it'll be a weekend, right? And he'll say, what are you doing today? Like on a Saturday morning, I may talk to him while I'm walking my dog Leo. He'll be like, what are you doing for the day? And I'm like, I don't know. And it'll really trigger me that he's asking for specific details about my day because not only do I not know, I'm like, well, why are you asking me, all these invasive questions? Like, I don't know, like, because I'm the type of person that I don't want to say I'm doing one thing and then I feel like it doesn't leave me the freedom to do another thing. So what I mean by that is later on I may feel like doing something completely different. So I don't want to tell you, oh, I'm going to the movies at 7 o'clock, because then if I don't go to the movies at 7 o'clock, then I'm considered like a liar because I'm not going to the movies at the specific time that I said I was going to the movies. So, and he's very structured, like he'll bring it up later on, like, oh, I thought you were going to the movies at 7 o'clock, and then I don't want to like deal with that. So I kind of tend to be very vague, especially when I'm in PMDD, because I don't really want to make concrete plans because the way I feel is so all over the place that I don't feel like I can make concrete plans because I feel like it may or may not happen. It may or may not occur. And so I feel the pressure of sticking to my word, which is just like another thing that I feel like is a hassle, something I have to do. So that I'm very avoidant. And when I get vague and I'm just like, I don't know, like he'll ask questions and I'll literally be like, I don't know what I'm doing today. Well, that makes him anxious because he's not getting the information that he needs to make him feel secure. So then in turn, say if we get off the phone, he'll start to text more. He'll start to try to figure out what I'm doing. He'll try to like ask me questions about who I'm with, like all of these things that are really big triggers for me because I'm a person that values freedom. I value having personal freedom to do what it is that I want to do in any given moment. And I say that with integrity because I have no intentions of doing anything immoral, no intentions of doing anything where I'm not faithful, where I'm not loyal, where I'm not, just doing things that are honorable as far as a reflection to my relationship. But I just also don't want to be questioned because when I'm questioned, I feel like you're questioning my character, which is very offensive for me. I'm kind of like, well, you should just trust me. Like, why do you need to know everything that I'm doing? And then, me being so perceptive and doing the work and knowing all the things is kind of like a double whammy because I'm noticing that he has this anxious attachment style and I see what he's doing. So if he asks like a simple question like, oh, you're going there, are you going alone? Or, what's the questions start. And I know that he's asking because he's feeling anxious and he's wanting to gain more information, not to just, find out what I'm doing, but kind of just to ease his own anxious attachment style that he's in the moment. And when you're in PMDD, when I'm in PMDD, I know what it is that he's asking for sometimes, but I don't want to give it to him because I feel like I don't want to subscribe to that. Like, I don't feel like I should have to prove myself to you. And so if you have an avoidant attachment style, this is how it can look. This is what it can look like, where you're just being really vague. And what that's doing is it's further triggering your partner and creating an anxious attachment style, even if it wasn't already there. So when you have an anxious attachment style, there's a lot of insecurity, there's a lot of jealousy, and you really need to be careful and mindful of that because when a partner is feeling insecure and a partner is feeling jealous, they're 9 times out of 9 going to act out of character. And you'll blame that on the circumstance or you'll blame that on their feelings or their nature. Like there's so many things you can blame it on, but at the root of it, it's because they're having an anxious attachment style and nothing that you're telling them, nothing that you're showing them is easing their mind to where they can get back into that secure state. So whichever side that you're on, whichever side that you feel like that looks like, if you feel like you're on the anxious side where, if your partner doesn't answer your questions the right way, like you start to ask more questions, and then the more that they hide and they're avoidant, you try to press them to talk and press them for information and demand that they give you these things. And you feel like if they loved me, they would really tell me what they're doing and all of these things. There's this insatiable pull to get more information. That's coming from you wanting to ease your own mind about the stories that you are now telling yourself that are literally driving you crazy. And you just want your partner to give you some form of communication that can get you back to that secure state, so that you know that they love you, you know that they care about you, and you can feel safe again. So when you're in that anxious space, you don't feel safe, and you're kind of depending and demanding that your partner gets you back to that comfort zone. But what I want you to know is that you can't put that kind of pressure on your partner to regulate your attachment style. But again, this is the work that I do with my private clients, because you don't necessarily know that you're doing it. You're just reacting to the feelings that you're feeling. And so a lot of anxious attachment styles have been called possessive. They've been called overbearing. They've been called that they're just too much. If your partner's ever told you that you're too much, that's probably because when they get into PMDD, you have an anxious attachment style. It's overwhelming. It can feel like they're suffocating, like they're getting suffocated by communication from you. And that it's so heartbreaking when I hear this, because I know that it's something that you cannot necessarily control when you're in PMDD, because it's your coping mechanism, right? So a couple of signs that you have an anxious attachment partner like I have is, I'm going to give you about 5 of them so that we can really kind of dive into which one that you are, so you see what that looks like. You feel suffocated. So if you're feeling suffocated, right, you're feeling like your partner is just overbearing. They're just, you can call them controlling. You feel like you can't escape them. You're getting anxious by the calls, the text messages. You're feeling like you don't have any peace because they're constantly trying to connect with you. Then that means that you have an anxious partner when you're in PMDD. Another thing is a feeling of abandonment. If you feel like your partner is consistently abandoning you, they're leaving you, you're feeling lonely, you're feeling really alone with your thoughts, you're feeling like you're hurting in this place, and they're choosing not to deal with you during a time where you're really, really needing them, then that means that you are an anxious attachment style and you're wanting your partner to get you back to that secure place. If you are an anxious partner, a lot of times in your PMDD relationship, you can feel like it's one-sided. The reason why you feel like it's one-sided is because anxious attachment partners often perform a lot of acts of service. They're always doing things for you. They're always trying to say the things that you want to hear, do the things that you want done, because they're wanting that attention back from you. And so when they feel like that they're doing all of these things, but they're not getting the gratitude that they need to feel secure, then you can start to feel like it's a one-sided relationship. That means you have an anxious attachment because you're not doing the things just to do them. You're doing the things because you're wanting a certain kind of reaction from your partner. And when you're not getting that, then you start to feel like they're ungrateful, and you start to think that, the ego comes up and like, I do all these things and they don't appreciate me. They don't value me. If I was with someone else, this may be when you decide to break up, because you can think, if I was with somebody else and I did these things, like they would totally love it, totally show me appreciation, but my partner doesn't. And when you have that anxious attachment style, there's actually nothing that your partner can do to really quench your thirst, because it's like an unquenchable thirst. It's constantly there. It is constantly there. The second thing, or the third thing is, the fourth is a feeling of instability. Sometimes they're showing you a lot of attention, and then sometimes they're not. This happens a lot when you're not in PMDD. They're showing you all this attention and you feel like it's mutual and you're on the same page. When they get into PMDD, they may be an avoidant attachment like me, and then they kind of cut off all of that attention that they've been giving you. So that means you're anxious attacher because you're clinging to them and you're pushing and pulling, trying to get that attention back. And you think that there's something you can say or do, whether it's positive or negative, in order to get a reaction out of them, just to get some attention. So a lot of times what partners can do is, if you're not giving them that positive attention, they're willing to accept that negative attention from you. So they may pick an argument with you. They may say things that are below the belt. They may say things that trigger you, and they do all these things because they're trying to get a reaction from you. They're trying to get some sign that you still care, some sign that you're still in it. And the next thing is if you start to question your relationship as a whole and just say, you know what, I feel like this is completely toxic. We really want different things, and you're so close to wanting to end the relationship because you're not getting the attention that you want. That means that you're an anxious attachment style because you feel like, unless my partner gives me the kind of attention that I'm wanting in the moment, then everything is horrible. You're putting all your eggs in that basket of getting the attention that you need in the moment, and you're questioning your whole relationship because you're not getting that attention. You may think, what's the point of being in a relationship if I'm not getting my needs met? I deserve better than this. I do all this. So you're showing a lot of effort, and you're replaying all the things that you've done in your mind and saying, they don't appreciate me. I do this, and this. If I did this for someone else, then maybe they would give me the attention. So you have to be really careful when you get into this kind of mindset, because this is where infidelity will come in, because you'll begin to think that maybe if I decide to open myself up to other people, they'll give me the attention that I'm wanting and needing from my partner that they're just choosing not to give to me. So what I want you to do, once you've identified whether you are an anxious or avoidant attachment style, these are some things that you can do for yourself. And a lot of these I customize with my private PMDD clients, and that is, you need to develop your self-esteem. So your self-worth, you'll hear that word all the time and you're like, what does that even mean? Because a lot of times when you're in ego, you feel like, I do feel good about myself. Like, I know that I'm a good person. You have this persona, but what happens is, unless you have a secure attachment style, if you're in that anxious or avoidant mindset with your partner, especially during PMDD, it can make you really, really insecure, where you have a lot of negative self-talk. You have a lot of intrusive thoughts, and those intrusive thoughts really lead to diminishing your self-esteem. So when you allow the intrusive thoughts and the things that really come up during PMDD, you're just falling into line with them, you're just believing them, then it's going to make it really, really hard for you to get in that mindset of accepting who it is that you are, what you bring to the table, and who your partner is and what they bring to the table, and knowing that you're on equal ground. So you don't want to be in the part of ego where you're thinking you're so much better than your partner, but you also don't want to be in the mindset of thinking that you're doing everything wrong. Because if you're thinking that you're doing everything wrong and you're feeling like you have to earn your partner's love and you have to earn their attention, and maybe if I do this differently, then my partner will love me more. And maybe if I do this differently, my partner will give me more attention. You're going to get exhausted because you're going to be in that state of constantly feeling like you're doing and doing and doing. And when you're in PMDD, you just need to allow yourself to be. You need to know that you are good enough as you are for your PMDD partner, because that's what's going to alleviate some of the stress. Because when you have stress and anxiety, it's going to affect how you approach your partner. Because if your partner is giving you those anxious feelings, if your partner is giving you those stressful feelings, you're going to start to see your partner as they're the problem. You're going to say, I can't have any peace. I can't feel calm. I can't do any of this because of my partner. You're going to blame everything on them and think that the only way that you're going to be able to get that sense of serenity is to break up with your partner and be by yourself. And you're going to isolate yourself as a way of protecting yourself. And when you're doing that, you're cutting yourself off from being in a relationship. You're cutting yourself off from love. You're cutting yourself off from all the amazing things that you could be enjoying from your PMDD partner when you're in PMDD and when you're not, because you're feeling like they're just being too clingy, they're being too needy, or they're not giving you enough attention. They're not giving you enough affection. So the other thing is to take steps to talk to a PMDD relationship expert like myself, because it does take a special practice to understand the cyclic nature of the attachment style when it comes to PMDD. Because if you deal with a counselor that's not familiar with PMDD, they may think that your attachment style when you're not in PMDD is the same as when you are in PMDD. They may think it's going to be the same way every month, but you technically can have, personally, you can have two different attachment styles, and then your partner can have two different attachment styles. So we're talking about 4 different attachment styles for the whole month. And this is why I'm doing a whole segment on this, is because we really need to gain a deeper understanding of what your attachment style is, what your partner's attachment style is, and how that's going to work within your relationship and being able to communicate. Because once your partner understands what that attachment style is and what yours is, the sooner you'll be able to gain an understanding of how you can navigate that. So I know that earlier in my journey, I really was complaining about my PMDD partner being so needy and clingy, and I had to reevaluate why that was so triggering for me. And this is something I do with my private PMDD partners. There's a reason why it's so triggering for you to have a partner that's either avoidant, where they're not giving you enough attention, they're not giving you enough affection, or they're giving you too much attention, they're giving you too much affection, and it seems overwhelming. Why would that bother you? Why? Why would you not appreciate the attention and the affection that your partner is giving you versus feeling like it's too much? Or why would you not appreciate the space that your partner's giving you? Like, why are you specifically triggered by that? And that's something that I go in depth with my PMDD private clients, is because you need to understand it in your mind versus just reacting on it. So if you're just reacting off of what your partner's doing, you're probably pushing your partner in the wrong direction. Meaning, if you're the anxious attachment, you're probably being really clingy to your partner, and it's doing a lot of damage because you're seeming possessive, you're seeming controlling, you're seeming like it's too much, you're giving your partner anxiety, you're giving them stress because you're constantly pulling from something because you want something, you need something in return. And if you are the partner that is constantly avoiding, and that means that you're doing damage to your partner because you're neglecting them, which is a form of emotional abuse. You're not meeting their emotional needs. You're leaving infidelity on the table because they could potentially go and get their needs met somewhere else. They're feeling abandoned, and you're allowing it, and you're not even feeling bad about it because you're so within that avoidant attachment style. So what I had to do, I'm going to tell you how I reframed my mind with my PMDD partner, who is an anxious attachment style, and I'm an avoidant. And this is going to give you an idea of the work that I do with my private clients, which is I had to stop complaining about my partner being so needy and clingy and communicative and giving me all of the attention and affection, because if you've listened to my previous podcast, you know that I have a lot of childhood trauma. And a lot of that childhood trauma, I was adopted at the age of 5. I was in foster care at the age of 3. Both of my parents were addicts, addicted to various things, and just really selfish individuals. And I was very neglected in a sense of not only did I not have the physical care, but I didn't have the emotional care. And then when I got adopted, I still was put into a household where my emotional needs were not met. I didn't feel seen. Growing up, I felt like I was always a burden because I was the adopted child. My adopted parents had natural children, and I was always the one that was adopted and was told that, that you have to earn your keep and you have to earn your right to be in this house and have clothes and have all the basic needs because I was the child that was, adopted, like they were doing me a favor. So I always felt so different and so just not really loved and cared for. And so fast forward to when I got into a lot of relationships in the past, I was the clingy one. I was the needy one because I was always wanting these things from people, but they weren't the right people. So I never was getting what it is that I wanted. You ever drink soda when you're really thirsty and it's kind of like it has so much sugar and so much crap in it that you can drink like 5 of them and you're still thirsty because you really need water, or you really need something that's actually going to quench your thirst. That's how I was before I met my PMDD partner. I was constantly just thirsty for attention, thirsty for affection, and nothing that anyone did was good enough for me because if they did it and they told me things and affirmed me, I didn't believe them because I didn't believe it about myself. And so now fast forward with my PMDD partner, when I get into PMDD, I would always complain that he was so clingy. And I really had to think about it in regards to my childhood trauma. Like the only reason that he hasn't left me while I'm in PMDD, when everything has gotten crazy in our earlier days, when everything has been completely traumatic, is because he needs me. And so here I am complaining about my partner being needy when the only reason that he hasn't left me is because he needs me. So if he didn't have that need within him to be with me, if he didn't have that love within him, that pull within him to be with me, he would have been gone. And so I feel like I am with the right person because I have someone that is so loyal. And for the first time in my life, I'm with someone that I know will never leave me, will never leave my side. I've never been able to say that about another partner that I've had. I've always really felt like I was walking on eggshells and like at any moment it could end. But the reason why everyone else in my life has left me, my mom left me, my dad left me, my adopted parents even did the same thing, is because they didn't need me. They never needed me. And that's why it was so easy for them to walk out of my life, to abandon me, to neglect me, and not even feel bad about it. It's because they never developed that need for me. So when I was in that mindset of complaining that my partner was needing me so much and he was so needy, it's like, that's the reason why I have someone. Because when someone doesn't need you, when they really don't need you, they can't be bothered with you. If you stress them out, they'll just leave you and move on. If you inconvenience them, if you do too much or too little for them and they don't need you, they'll move on. They'll either move on and tell you that they're moving on, or they'll go get somebody else and move on and you not even know about it. But when you need someone, when you really need them, you're going to stay and you're going to say, you know what, we need to figure this out. We need to figure out how we're going to work on this PMDD. We have to work through this PMDD because I need you. I want to be with you. And they'll be willing to do the work because they need you in their life. And so when I really thought about that, when I really thought about the root of why my partner gets needy and clingy and wants so much from me, I realize that's a good thing. That's an amazing thing. That's a rare thing. And I need to stop complaining about it and thinking that it's a burden for me, and when it's really just a blessing. That I have someone that's willing to stay with me through everything that PMDD throws at me because they actually need me. Not what I do, not what I say, but just me. Just want to be with me, want to be around me, want to be connected to me. Because that is so rare these days. I don't know about you, but I've been looking so much on social media, like different relationships or, couples that I really looked up to, and I'm just seeing them break up left and right, and they're moving on, and there's all these reasons for it. When you get divorced, you put on their irreconcilable differences. Well, I feel like everybody has irreconcilable differences, right? Which is meaning you're irretrievably broken, meaning something that happened in your relationship is so broken that you can't put it back together. But I believe if that need was there, you could fix it. If you needed that person to live, to breathe, if you had a vision for your life and that define the purpose. Like if you're like, you know what, I know that I'm supposed to have this family. And in order to have this kind of family, I need to be with this particular person in order to live this out. Then regardless of what that relationship with that person, like regardless of what happened within it, you would find a way to make it work because you know that the only way that you can have it is if you have it with this person. It's when you get into that mindset of options, like there's so many options these days, and it can be options of being single, like, oh, I could just, now you can just have a baby and you don't even need to have a partner. So it's like, back in the day, you needed to have a partner in order to have a baby, in order to have a family. And now it's like, oh, I don't need to have an actual partner in order to have a child. I can just have one on my own. And I think it's beautiful to do those things independently because I'm all about independence. But I do believe that if you're in a relationship with someone who has PMDD, you have to need each other, right? You have to have some form of need for them and not an unhealthy need where you're completely dependent, and you can't function without them. But a secure attachment style is, I need you, I see value in you, but I also need myself. I also value myself. It's not that you're neglecting who you are, your dreams, your hopes, all of the things in order to be with this person. But I feel like nowadays society is just all or nothing. Like you either are completely dependent on your partner and you can't do without them, or you're completely dependent on yourself and you're living the independent life, like it's all about me. It's all about me. But I believe a secure attachment style, and this is what I work towards with all of my private clients, is I don't have to have you in my life, but I want to have you in my life and I need you for this purpose. You have to have a bigger purpose for why you need your PMDD partner. They have to be part of something bigger. You have to know the vision that you have for your specific relationship, because when you and your partner both have a vision, like how me and my partner do, like he needs me because he knows that he's going to retire soon. I'm going to retire soon from our civilian jobs, like what we do. And we want to live this life. And that's one of the things that brought us together, so early on, is that we had the same vision for how we wanted to live our life when we got retired and we finished working. We're like, we want to do this. We want to travel. We want to live a good life. We want to be debt free. Want to be able to have people come over, want to have this huge house, want to have parties, want to just work out and just live a good good vibes only life, and we want to share it with someone. We don't want to be in the midst of this big house with nobody in it. And I think that's what we forget about sometimes, is that if you were to get all of the things that you really wanted out of your PMDD relationship, a lot of times you forget that, you need the other person in order to have that vision of what you want. Because who wants to have all of these things? As glamorous as being single can seem at times, nobody wants to sleep alone. Nobody wants to come home alone. And even if you do, it's not every night. So I will say there's some nights where you might be like, I just want to come home and just be myself and not being bothered. That may be days that you want to isolate during PMDD. Been there, done that, like totally get it. But to live my life like that is not something that I want. It's like, I don't want to come home every day to no one every day. I want to be able to maybe come home some days where I'm deep in PMDD and I'm just wanting to isolate and just have my own space in the house. But I don't know if you're like me, where sometimes you want to be alone, but not be alone, right? You want to be alone, maybe in the bedroom, but you don't want to feel like there's no one else in the house. Because here's the thing. When you get into those moments of PMDD depression or PMDD fatigue, where you're feeling like you can't do anything else and you really need someone to do the basic things like cook, clean, take the kids to wherever they need to go, like call your job and vouch for you, like those are things that your partner can do for you to ease your stress, to ease your worry. And I don't know about you, but being alone with PMDD is actually really scary to me, because it's so unpredictable as to how my symptoms can be, that if I didn't have a partner and I just had to completely depend on myself to do everything, I don't know if I would be able to do it, because it is a lot. And there's a lot that my partner is able to do for me that I'm not in a place to do all the time. Like, I could burn myself out and do it, because I've been single before and obviously I had PMDD. So I could do it, but it's gonna come with a price. Like, I can be by myself and be single and do all the things that he does, but why? Why do it when I can have someone do it for me, so that I can feel like I can relax? I can take the time that I need to repair from PMDD. And if you constantly feel like when I was a single mom and I was doing everything on my own, oh my gosh. Like, I was totally stressed out. I feel like I didn't have a break. I feel like PMDD was happening like so quickly, because I felt like I never got a break. I was completely exhausted. And so when you have a partner that you can lean on because they're attached to you, the attachment itself is a positive thing. And I know that we're in that mindset of the independent person these days, where it's glamorous to be single and it's glamorous to be independent and it's glamorous not to have a relationship. But we weren't built to be alone. We weren't made to be alone. Whoever you think we're made by, God, the universe, Allah, like whatever your religion or whatever bigger thing that you think created us to be here, we were not made to be alone. Like, we have a need, a desire to have a companion for a reason. And just because things get hard during PMDD doesn't mean that you're supposed to be alone. This is why I give you the tools on how to navigate an intimate relationship with PMDD. And don't think that you have to be single to manage your symptoms, to be better off when you're in PMDD because your partner's too much or they're not enough. What I'm going to be doing while I'm going through this series of the attachment style, today we really delved into the anxious attachment style. Next week, we're really going to be talking about the avoidant attachment style, which is me. We touched on it a little bit today, but I'm going to be doing an attachment style private session with couples and individuals that I'm going to be offering to you, so you can fill out the application, or you can just DM me on Instagram at In Love with PMDD and just say attachment. and I'll be doing an assessment for you, one session where we're just going to identify point blank, what is your attachment style? What is your partner's attachment style? It's going to be a 90-minute session. It's just going to be a one and done. And it's going to give you the framework of how to navigate those different attachment styles, because I know that it's something that can be very overwhelming. It can be very confusing, and then you don't really have the tools. Of course, you can Google it and be like, oh, what's my attachment style? But then it's like, when I get into PMDD, like, what do I do with it? Like specifically for my relationship, what does that specifically look like in my relationship? So if you're not following me on Instagram, you need to be, because I give daily tips and tricks. I literally, it's like a diary on my Facebook, or not my Facebook, my Instagram stories, where I tell you every single day that I'm going through PMDD, how many days before I get into PMDD, all of the things that you have access to. You can DM me. I spend about 2 to 3 hours. Lately, it's been more, and I love it, of time within my DMs, just talking to you, giving you advice, pouring from my heart all of the things that I know are going to help you. So I do that. So if you have something that's really, really, you just have a quick question or something like that, like, DM me on Instagram. I'm the same person. I don't have an assistant that handles my DMs. I don't have a bot sitting there. It's actually me. Also, if you are not on my email list, the Breakup Proof Your PMDD Relationship, you need to be on that list, because I send you a weekly digest of all of the tips and tricks of what to do, that you can start implementing actionable tools within your PMDD relationship every single week. So if you're not on that list, go ahead and click the link in my bio, or you can just email me. Or email me or DM me on Instagram that you want to be on that actual mailing list, and you'll get a personalized email from me. You can also reply to those emails at any time, because again, they're coming directly to me. It's not a bot. But it's all to help you. It's all to help you and your PMDD partner. I've had a lot of PMDD partners reach out lately, so don't feel like you can only reach out to me if you're the partner that has PMDD, or if you know that your partner really needs to talk to me about something or needs a session or something like that. I do sessions with PMDD partners one-on-one, because they go through a lot of traumatic events from listening to my partner. In the previous podcast, he's been through a lot, and obviously he has access to me. So we've had this deep talks, healing talks about things that have happened. It's not something that you can just have a lot of traumatic events go on in your relationship and then you just brush over them and then that's it. It always leaves something that's going to constantly be brought up. So until you heal all of that past trauma that's happened from all of the events in your PMDD relationship, it's going to keep showing up, and it's going to keep putting damage to your PMDD relationship. So those are the ways that you can work with me. If you want to get that attachment style session, that 90-minute session, go ahead and email me. I will have the application available for you, and we can just get that done so you can have the tools, have that knowledge, so that you can have the PMDD relationship that you desire and deserve. We got this. I hope these PMDD trauma transformational tools help you and your PMDD partner. I am so excited to announce that I am opening up 10 spots for my exclusive 2-month private PMDD relationship coaching called Breakup Proof Your PMDD Relationship. Within these 2 months, I will be working with you one-on-one to give you customized strategies to ensure that you and your PMDD partner stop the monthly breakups and stress, so that you can have the supportive relationship that you desire and deserve. I am only opening up 10 spots, so go to my website at www.inlovewithpmdd.com or DM me on Instagram at In Love with PMDD and grab your spot now. It's time to start actively working on your PMDD relationship. Remember, love is not just a feeling, it's an action. And I know that your PMDD relationship is worth not only saving, but working on so that you both can be at peace with your PMDD relationship. If you found this podcast helpful, please comment and leave me a 5-star review to help other PMDD partners find our episodes. With all these tools and support, this is how you can help support the show and other PMDD partners. For everything that as PMDD partners go through, we should not have to do it alone. Until next time, remember, we can have the relationship that we desire and deserve while having PMDD. We got this.